Hey, this is me building a $3 million a year business in public, and the way these videos always go is I start them with some YouTube comment Q&A, whole idea being I deliver you guys some value ASAP. That value then helps me grow my channel, and I also get a ton of engagement from it, which allows me to, get more comments on my videos, tell the algo how cool daily updates is, and so on and so forth. Then I do some growth stats across YouTube, Instagram, and my products before finally building in public. So this is the whole daily updates kind of mind map. If you guys want to check that out, just go down to the description. For those of you guys that don't know, this is my main channel here at 161.5K subs. This is the daily updates channel. And what I do is I basically just scroll all the way down to the very bottom of the daily updates stack. And then I just answer questions. So if you guys want your question added to this and then answered, feel free. Just leave a question or a comment on literally any one of my daily updates videos, and I will do so. So last question is from I'm Pranav. Says, hey Nick, have a few questions and a request. Here they are for clarity. First question, when using self-hosted n8n, the Gmail node requires a client ID, which I can only obtain by setting up and connecting my bank account with Google Cloud. So do I need to ask my clients for their account details, or is there another way to handle this? Well, you definitely don't need your client's bank account details, no. But they do need a Google Cloud account, to be clear. So what you can do is when you get them on a kickoff call to start whatever the service is, you can walk them through the process of setting up a Google Cloud. Before the kickoff call, let them know that you're going to spend 10 or 15 minutes getting them up to speed and signed up to a bunch of platforms and stuff like that. And then just while you're on the call, walk them through that process. You can do some sort of screen share if you want. Obviously, don't have them show you their card details or whatever if they're not comfortable with it. But yeah, just coach them through the process. At the end of it, you can then take the Google Cloud client ID, a client secret, then add that to your n8n. Okay? So that's like the straightforward way of solving this in the constraints of your problem. But I will say, like, if we're just being honest here, this problem isn't really a problem that I think you should have in the first place. Because if I were you, I would just use OAuth to do all client signups. And the way you use OAuth is you just use the cloud-hosted version. Cloud hosting, I know, is sort of like a divisive topic. A lot of people with n8n are like, well, why would I cloud host if I could self-host and then never pay any execution charge and only have to pay the flat monthly fee to whatever the hosting provider is, let's say Render or Alestia or whatnot. Well, the value in doing so is like multiple. When you self-host, you're turning what is really just like an automation logic problem into like a dev ops and deployment ops problem. You're turning it into like a coding problem. You're starting to throw so many other things into the mixture that sort of distract from your ability to provide value. You now have to learn all about like environment variables. You have to learn about like webhook pass-throughs, reverse proxies, Nginx, and stuff like that. This stuff doesn't actually concretely add to your ability to deliver value for a client. They're just like technical implementation features that you have to know in order to do this as of this moment in time. Like there's no actual value to that, I would say, from a business POV. So, what I'm always thinking about in situations like this is, okay, like what is like the actual value that I'm providing as an AI automation specialist? And then how can I strip literally everything else away from that value and only do the thing that actually delivers me money? And that is, you going cloud hosted, one-click OAuth to things like, Google Sheets and a bunch of like Google connections. Super simple. It's always supported. You're never going to have like crazy downtime. You're never going to run into like wild uninterpretable errors because n8n just handles that for you. And that's what you're paying n8n to do. And, like the big pushback that I get with this too is like, well, Nick, it's $25 a month. It's $60 a month. Well, my response to that is, man, if you're not delivering multiples on a $60 a month subscription, you probably shouldn't even be building the system for the client in the first place. Ideally, your systems would be providing a 20x ROI at minimum on that. If you're delivering $1,000 a month in value, even $1,000 a month, okay? You have some system that streamlines and economizes some process, and it just adds $1,000 in value, maybe savings or some sort of opportunity cost to a business. Are they going to care if they're paying like 4% of that? Like, no, they're not going to care that they're paying 4% overhead to n8n to manage that. And if they are, you're talking to somebody that's stupid as hell. So my own recommendation for you, aside from the question that you're asking, if I just like look through the question to what I think the root problem here is just like the whole fact that you're n8n self-hosting, and then you're at the point in your journey where you're a beginner and you're still asking that question. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't do that at all. Same thing for this next one. Do you have to use your own API key to build an AI system for my clients? No, the client would preferably just get all of these platforms. you would help them and coach them through it on a kickoff call. And then at the end, you would have all the keys and everything that you would need. And I have put together a bunch of videos and whatnot. So I'm just like type in Nick Saraev, how to manage an automation project, and you'll find them. But to be honest, now that I've answered this, you don't really need to go much further. Okay, Pranav? Okay, Mohammed says, I have a question. $150 in my budget. Should I go with Facebook ads or cold email marketing for selling my services? What do you prefer? Definitely cold email marketing. If you run cold email here, you should buy yourself like 2, maybe 3 months, depending on how you spend this. 2.5 months, maybe. Probability of you getting a paying client with 2.5 months, which is what, like 60 to 75 days of like outbound cold email, maybe 300 emails a day. Like, you know how many hits, shots at the net you're going to get, swings of the bat you're going to get with cold email versus Facebook ads? It's not even going to be close. So yeah, cold email for sure at that small budget. Joey says, hey, Nick, started on Upwork a couple weeks ago, landed my first few projects. See, this is what I'm talking about, man. You guys just start and you do the really simple, boring stuff that everybody else looks down on, like Upwork, it's for freelancers or whatever. And if you just get that out of the park, well, now you're in a privileged position where you have some client experience and you have a little bit of money. Once you have client experience and a little bit of money, it becomes a lot easier to actually build a business. So nice work, Joey. Thank you for taking that step by step. Now, one of the automations I built took in a YouTube URL and outputted a slideshow quiz and research document. He says this is saving him and other teachers 2 to 3 hours a day. We've had ongoing work, but I'm interested to hear, have you done any work in the education industry, or what are your thoughts? I think the issue here would be low budget, but maybe some sort of school funding would come into play if I targeted schools instead of teachers with cold email. Planning to just keep staying consistent with Upwork, but in the meantime, looking for opportunities that I can branch off and niche down in. Thanks. Yeah, I think that's a great opportunity. One of the campaigns that I ran for the PR agency that I used to own a quarter of was for, like, I think the Skateboard Association or something like that. There's some name. The American Skateboard Association or something of that nature. And, like, we pitched teachers. And then at the very bottom of the pitch or whatever, it was something like, I know that schools a lot of the time fund this stuff or something. So, it'd be a really cool way to like get your class involved or whatnot. And like with a pitch like that, you're taking it off of the teacher's hands and you're basically saying, hey, somebody else is going to pay for this anyway. And yeah, it worked pretty well. Now this was well over a year ago, I guess. Like a year and a couple months ago. So I don't really know entirely how that campaign shaped up because I'm no longer with that company. But generally just like implying or explicitly stating that somebody else is going to pay for it is an awesome way to add value to a cold email campaign. Significant improvement in conversion rates. I've actually ran a couple other campaigns. I consulted for a guy that worked with Google, and he had an arrangement that Google would finance the implementation of an AI project, I think up to like $25,000. And so the pitch was, hey, I'm like, I don't know, it was like, I'm working with Google. And that was like the teaser that you see in the email. And it's like, holy shit, this guy's working with Google. He's reaching out to me. Let me give it a click, right? On some AI implementation thing, I can get us $25,000 in funding to build this sort of thing. Or if you had any other ideas, then you could let me know. It's a short application process. It takes like, 15 minutes. I can do it with you on a quick call. No, this is totally out of left field, but just wanted to put this in front of you. If you've considered modernizing or whatever, then please do it. That's pretty cool. Campaign that I personally run, government of British Columbia, I believe it was British Columbia. I don't think it was federal, but I was out in BC, Vancouver at the time, had a like digital upgrade campaign where they, I think, were willing to pay up to $5,000. This is Canadian dollars. If you like modernized a business. What is modernize? It's like you build some sort of like application or storefront or something for what previously was a brick and mortar business. The whole idea is they wanted to fund like modernization of businesses to like make the economy better. And that was a pretty big one. I forgot the name of the specific system, but the reason I'm giving you all these examples, I just want to like show you a bunch of different perspectives of the same problem, where it's just like you're pitching something with people and then you're saying that, like you're not actually going to be paying for it. We can grab some school funding, we can grab some incentives, we can get some public funds or whatever. So hopefully that makes sense. Ben says, so just a Q&A video, should have said that in the title. Yeah, I mean, like this whole channel's Q&A, my brother. But thank you. Hey, Nick, I have $100. I'm thinking of running Facebook ads with a very specific target. Thought this might be a good option to generate some leads, potentially secure my first client, even if it's a low-paying project. No, I don't think that's a good idea. For the reasons that I mentioned previously, I just don't really think that at small budgets, like ads make any sense at all. It takes like 10x that to even like begin to understand whether your campaign is total crap or not, So I wouldn't do that. Hey Nick, I have a very beginner question. I'm 17, just found your channel, never done any type of business. I'm disciplined, so I'm considering getting your course, but I feel like that I'm behind to learn all the knowledge or too young for starting an AI business. What do you think? Am I doing myself a financial favor? I work a part-time job as a 17-year-old as well. I found the AI business very interesting because I'm on a computer a lot, and I'm more of a computer person. I use AI for everyday things, and I dreamed of becoming a software engineer. And I'm really considering getting into your course, learning about business and finance, even as a part-time 17-year-old. Yeah, that's sweet, man. Hey, I'm not going to disincentivize you from, like growing my MRR or anything, just to be clear. I think that you would probably be best served by consuming more of my free content first. I think you could probably get to like a pretty sufficient level of knowledge where like knowledge stops being the bottleneck for you. And I don't think that you're there yet. As somebody that's like the start line of your career, you've never done any type of business before, you have no idea how any business works. You could probably, like the 80-20 here is probably like getting your knowledge level up to a sufficient point using my free content so that when you come into my paid program, you don't like look at a bunch of the terms and acronyms and go, what the hell does ROI mean? What the hell does AOV mean? You know what I mean? And the cool thing is like I talk about all this stuff for free because I firmly believe that knowledge should never be gate kept. What is gate kept in my program are things like resources, things like copy paste templates, things like proposals, daily accountability. So like a big list of tasks that I have organized that will get you your desired result. In this way, I'm not gatekeeping the knowledge. I'm just organizing it in a very simple and easy way for you. And then I'm giving you a big network of people that can help you break your limiting beliefs, as well as like coaching and stuff like that from myself. So yeah, I guess to make a long story short, like maybe I wouldn't recommend that right now. But of course, if you want to throw a bunch of money at me, I'm not going to say no. Cynthia says, what core skills or experience do you recommend someone have before joining Megascore? What the hell is a Megascore? Don't think I've ever heard of Megascore. He's probably using some text-to-speech program, and he said Megascore, as in Maker School. Megascore. How do you Megascore? I'm wondering what kind of accent that is. I see your name. You're probably from India, but India or Bangladesh. Sorry. From 2024 to mid 2025. I've been building and selling workflows to businesses around $5,000. So we head into late 2025 and beyond. There's growing talk about infrastructure audits and systems level integration. What's your perspective on where the real opportunity is going next and how you'd approach it if you were in our position? Yeah, anytime I see people like talk like this, I think the trend is moving or whatever. I think y'all are just like consuming too much of this stuff. I would, do me a solid. Like you can actually like pause this video right now and like go and do something actionable for your business that that you need to do that you've just been putting off. Probably that's some sort of outreach or something. What you find is this is almost like finance. It's almost like all the stuff you hear on the internet. Well, some of it I think is very powerful, mostly my own content. A lot of it is like speculation. It's like financial speculation. It's like an abstraction on the actual ground truth. It's just people's opinions on things, basically what I'm trying to say, right? And my whole thing is like focus less on the opinions of things and go and actually like learn it for yourself. It's like, hey, Nick, does this business model work? And it's like, well, I don't know. Have you tried it? It's like, hey, Nick, like, if I do this, will it be unscalable? And it's like, well, I think so. But like, the only way you're actually going to know is if you do it. The only way to like see if a boat has leaks is to put it on the water. The only way to, figure out that the IKEA chair isn't going to break is they stress test it over and over and over. So when I hear all of this talk about like these mimetic concepts like AI infrastructure audits, systems level integration, the market is changing. My take is like, you got to touch grass. Is that it? Is that what the kids say? Touch some grass, man. Like literally just get out there and try it yourself. And, focus less on what people are talking about and then focus more on like, what people are doing to make actual money out there in the space. Yeah, like I'll give you, when I was doing my, initial door-to-door stuff way back in the day, and I keep on bringing this up because I just feel like I was in a very similar mindset to many of you guys at that point, many beginners. When I was doing that door-to-door stuff, like to make a long story short, for 3 months, I knocked on doors with a business partner of mine. I was between 50, 80 doors a day, something like 6 days a week, 6 or 7 days a week. And by the end of it, we did like 2,500 to maybe 3,500. I don't know the exact number, so I'm just making estimates here. But at the end of it, we made like, less than $10, like a very small little sum, right? And the reason I always bring this up is because like at that point in my time, I had watched like one YouTube video about this business model. One. I watched a single YouTube video. And then I was like, you know what? Let me go and do this. And I'm not saying this is optimal because I'm not saying spending 3 months to make less than $10 is like an optimal decision by any means. But I think you should probably debias like your guys' desire for information and then your propensity for action, way more to the action side. You know, like if this is the thing, and like I was like way over here, probably a little too close to action. I think most of you guys are probably way over here and you're like way too close to knowledge. So like, to be honest, if you just, if you want to figure all the stuff out, care less about like what the market speculation or what the opinion is about AI automation or AI infrastructure or whatever, and go sell it. Because I can tell you confidently that clients don't care whether it's called AI infrastructure, AI audits, or systems level integration. This is very much a YouTube thing. So hopefully that makes sense. David says, dropping bangers as usual. A few questions for you before all this all gets out of control and you can't breathe. Bro, I've been breathing since the day I was born. How do you distinguish between what you put in a prompt and what you put in a knowledge base? Yeah, to make a long story short, I don't really think that there's any there should be any disambiguation nowadays. Unless I have a prompt, like unless I'm trying to query a knowledge base that is over a few million tokens, I would just literally stuff it all in the prompt. I know it sounds stupid, but like you could actually just stuff it all in GPT 4.1 now. GPT 5 is going to come up pretty soon. I mean, if you're watching this in the future, it's probably already out. That'll definitely have a context window of 1 million tokens or more. You're just not going to need like RAG in the future, to be honest. So I would just put it all in the prompt. Thoughts on building prompts with Prometheus? Yeah, I mean, I've seen and heard about stuff like this. This is like higher level prompt optimization. Have I run like really like strict prompt tests and stuff like that? No, I still do my Google Sheet approach, which, to be clear, is I will literally just take a prompt and then I'll run it on 10 inputs, and then I'll like see the outputs, and then I'll score the outputs, and then I'll say, okay, how'd this do out of 10? This one was an 8 out of 10. Oh, this other one was a 9 out of 10. Ooh, this one was a 10 out of 10. Obviously, it's not actually a 10 out of 10, but it's like my little test says. So then I just roll with whatever prompt gave me the highest number. It's informal, but like, like most things, it's the 80-20, right? Like, am I going to be perfectly correct? No, but I'm going to be directionally correct, which is what matters. What's the best way to instruct a voice agent to pause when speaking? Trying to make my agent take a 2-second pause after checking calendar availability so it sounds more human. Been going down some rabbit holes from ChatGPT. What I ended up doing is SSML formatting within the conversation examples in my prompt, which is already in markdown format. So this is a pretty interesting question. I don't know if I could answer this like just being honest with you. There's so many platforms out there. You could try saying pause with little stars around it. Most of these models are trained off of, well, a big chunk of them are trained off of like audiobooks and like YouTube transcripts and stuff. And sometimes like there is literally like a little pause token. So they will like see the pause and then like be more likely to actually pause. Does it work every time? No. But yeah, you could have it in stars like slow pause or something, and it would work depending on the voice model. I know that this wasn't super clear, but yeah, I don't really think it could help you specifically with that. From your brother in RuneScape. Thank you very much, man. I really appreciate it. Yep. Get client number 2. Anabolic437 says, hey Nick, how do you sell a new high-ticket service that doesn't yet have existing data to showcase results? Thanks for the fire content, man. Keep it up. Well, let's just be like conceptual with this. I would position it as similarly as possible to a pre-existing service or a pre-existing offer that does have results. And then I would heavily imply that the results that you're going to get from this program are even better than the results you're going to get from the previous program. Or the results you're going to get from this service is even better than it's like, hey, a previous iteration of this got people X, Y, and Z results. This is better. So at minimum, the average result that the people are going to see that are going to go through my program are probably going to be higher than that. And everything rests on that probably, obviously, but that's where, your social proof comes in. That's where the strength of your sales skills come in. So that's how I would do it. I would just position it similarly to stuff that's been done before. Okay. All right. So that's it for the Q&A portion. Just to be clear, we're now coming up on 7 days again. It seems to me like I'm alternating somewhere between 6, 7, 8 days. Depends. I know the other day we had a pretty fun one because I went with Nate and the Waymo, and we only ended up answering like 4 questions or so. But yeah, I'm liking this. It's so interesting to me that I could still maintain a week out cadence without actually spending a lot of time. Which is just a testament of scale, I guess. I don't know. Testament of scale, testament of like user behavior. It reminds me a lot of Maker Skool. I'll give you guys the whole like debrief on what happened at the Skool games in a moment, but it really does remind me of like, oh my God, this community has 500 people. How am I going to manage it at 1,000 people? And it's like, well, at 500 people, it took me 15 minutes. At 1,000 people, it took me like 25 minutes. Like it's not actually one-to-one. There's diminishing time requirements as you scale, interestingly. And that's the thing, like if you're smart about how you put stuff together, like as you scale, it actually takes less time per unit than more. And the cool things about my product right now, like, my main one, the community, drives disproportionate amount of my revenue. Yeah, it's that like I get to take advantage of network effects. So like the more people in the program, the higher the probability that somebody will actually answer somebody else's question, then I don't have to like jump in and do it. So that's kind of cool. Okay. Right. So why is the background all different from my home? Just because I'm at a hotel in Los Angeles, if you guys didn't know, doing these Skool games. That's the competition that they host for people that generate the most revenue growth or demonstrate the most revenue growth in a category in a quarter. My category was money, and my revenue growth, I believe, was like 200,000 or something like that. I guess we could probably find out. So I'm going to jump on, let's do Skool games here. So this is me right now, number one maker Skool. Last 7 days, looks like we added about 1,000, and then the MR is 295, 239. We got a quarter though. I think it's Q2. We're going to see. Right. So quarter Q2 2025. It looks like, and I don't actually know how this works. I should probably know how this works, but like, it looks like I added like $118,000 in MRR growth. It's about $120,000 in MRR growth up right before the end of the, like the end of the cutoff or whatever. So end of the cutoff was, I think like June the 28th. And it looks like, yeah, I generated 120,000 in MRR added on to my program amount between April the 1st and June the 28th. And it looks like the last 7 days, I actually lost like 4,259, which is why it's different from all time and quarter. They just, they do like the number tracking slightly differently. But anyway, it's worth just looking at this. So my community is up here. I added $118,000, and I was number one. Number two added $38,000. So at the low end, my community was by minimum, like it's not even close, you know, like numerically speaking. It's basically like I'm, you know, if I could just represent this, I'm up here in terms of the amount of revenue I've driven. And then second, third, fourth, and fifth place are here, 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 and here. You know, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. So it's like, I'm like up here at a skyscraper, man. And I'm just like staring down at people just like, hey. So that's pretty cool, right? So yeah, then anyway, so they invited me out, which is pretty sweet. And then they gave me a bunch of merch to, you know, promote Skool, but also it's very fuzzy. And so I'm not going to lie, it's colder in Los Angeles than I thought it would be. And it's like a one-day event where you meet everybody else that won the Skool games in their respective categories. Mine was money. Other people had tech and health and hobbies and whatnot. Very cool diversity of categories, which is nice. And then they show you a bunch of things that other community members are doing. And then this quarter, what they had was they had a panel basically with Sam Ovens, who's the founder of Skool and the guy who sold consulting.com. I think like how many years ago was this now? Like 6 years ago or something? I don't know. It's quite a while ago, I think. But you know, he's like one of like the business education mastermind guys. He built a big consulting empire essentially. And then Alex Hormozi, who I think most of you know, but runs like, he's probably the business guy of our era. And then, yeah, like, you know, had a little panel. And what happened this time was they invited me on. And I think it was just because the revenue increase was just so disproportionate. They were like, all right, you know, we got to get this guy on here. He's just got to tell everybody what he knows. But it was interesting because I was expecting to have to deliver some sort of presentation or so I actually did like a little bit of prepping. What it ended up being was it was just like I counted like about an hour panel of just me, Sam, and Hormozi up on stage just talking about stuff. And it was the coolest thing ever. It was really cool. Like I've consumed a lot of content from these guys over the course of the last like couple of years. I remember when Alex made his YouTube account or whatever. I was one of the first people subscribed to it, I believe, on one of my accounts anyway. He must have had less than a few thousand subscribers. And I saw this and I was like, this is how you do YouTube. And this is how I'm doing YouTube and how I'm going to do YouTube. Because he started a successful business prior to this. And then he just used all of his business acumen to stand out. And it was very clear that it was like no fluff, high quality content from somebody that had actually done the shit that he was talking about. Unlike most other people at the time when he started, right? So I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get freaking loaded. Crush it in like some space. In my case, it was services. And then I'm going to start a YouTube channel after. And I've consumed a lot of his content since then. I don't know how many hours. Not as much as some other people, but like I've consumed a fair amount. So then, you know, same thing with Sam. Way back in the day, before I even like knew Sam was Sam, to be honest, I was like watching a bunch of his videos and like trying to internalize some of his concepts and stuff. Not a ton again, but like enough that, you know, it made a really big impact on me when I was up there. I actually caught myself tearing up at one point because I was just like, damn, am I actually like, is there a microphone in my hand? There's like all these people that are making all this money listening to me. And then there's like Alex on my right and then Sam Evans on my left. That's pretty stupid. Like, what the hell could I possibly want aside from this? And Alex was, at least he seemed impressed by the rate of growth. But what I think was most interesting is, we talked briefly about my content strategy and like my philosophy surrounding the content that I've been creating. And what's interesting is like, I don't even know if he knows how many subscribers I have. He was not interested at all in the subscriber count. All he was interested in was the monetization, at least from what I could glean. So I did not have the biggest subscriber count of all of the people that were there. There are many people there that had 2, 3, probably like 5x my subscriber count organically. But I was making by far the most money. And so what I think that was signaling to him was that the monetization of my audience was just fantastic. And this is very interesting because I used to have what I consider the shittiest monetization. And then over the course of a year, I basically changed that. And now I have like the best monetization. So really cool, I think, from his perspective to see somebody that probably had implemented so much of his stuff. And yeah, one thing that I'll mention is both Sam and Alex, they had this little panel thing for like 45 minutes or so before I was invited on for the remainder of the hour. And yeah, man, like they were just talking, ad-libbing about various concepts and about, what the, I guess, like done for you, done with you, education products, communities, like what all these things meant, their value, a couple of changes that they were making to the product, and then also like where they see all the stuff going. And like, I swear, everything that they said, I was just like, I can't believe he said that. I was going to say that. I was like, took the damn words right out of my mouth. That was going to be my thing. And that's when it kind of hit me that like, wow, like I'm thinking a lot like these guys, which is pretty sweet. So yeah, it was really fun. Met a lot of really cool people. I got some great feedback on my community and on some questions I had about like potentially starting a higher ticket program. And, one big thing that I got from this is my agency. I'm going to go back to growing my agency. And the reason why is I'm going to do it as a legitimacy play primarily, but also like, that's what people want to see. They want to see like the business side of things. Now, I've obviously run into hurdles where I can't share like, the one time I tried to share it, not the one time, I've shared live sales calls, but I've done so within my paid products. But the one time I tried doing it here, like immediately I got flagged and like, I don't really know if I want to risk liability on that end. But like, I definitely want to share more strategic things about the business. So yeah, strategically speaking, I'm just going to be mentioning left click a lot more, is the main conclusion. And like during my videos and during all the content that I create, I'm just going to constantly be referencing left click. I'm going to be talking about left click. So at left click, we do X. Left click, we just signed a $40,000 revenue deal the other day. We do blank. Here's what that deal looks like. Here's how it's structured. I'll probably keep it high level to start and drill down into the areas that people find most interesting and the things that I get the most questions about. But I am like definitively scaling left click now. We're going back to all in on left click. And I don't know how much time investment this is going to take in addition to what I'm already spending across all of my things. I don't want to be in a position where, because I'm focusing on the agency, my total revenue with Make Your School drops or whatever. But I'm thinking about it in my head. And even if that happens, I think it's okay because I believe the increased authenticity and staying power I get out of operating like a high 6-figure monthly agency will greatly outweigh whatever momentary decrease I will see through not, being, I don't know, not producing as much content about it or whatever in the short term. Do you know what I mean? Like the play that I'm going to be making is like, and my thing's about to run out of battery, so I'm going to have to end it pretty soon. But strategically, the whole play I think I'm going to be making is I'm going to circle back to services, which per unit time make me significantly less money in the short term. But I think per unit time over the long term, that's where I need to go, I think. I mean, think about Sam. He mentions Skool.com all the time. Think about Alex. He mentions acquisition.com all the time. These are massive legitimacy plays that just like add to the content that they're creating. And, my big thing is like scaled in AI automation agency, 72K a month, but it's like, I got to go way bigger than that, right? Also, I keep finding people now, they're like, hey, Nick, I got this enterprise deal on the table. I'm considering doing an enterprise deal. I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know too much about enterprise deals. Like I'm all SMB, right? So I want to climb up the average order value and then get into like higher level consulting deals because I I just find that stuff super interesting. And to be honest, like when you won at something, like you just want to do something a little bit different. So I'm going to keep on winning, of course. But yeah, I think that's probably like broadly what I'm going to do. And then more of my video ideas are going to be based off of like specific implementations that I'm doing within my company. And, you know, specific things and plays that I'm doing there. And I'm always going to be referencing it. And I'm also going to include like call to actions and stuff like that at the bottom of the videos that route back to it. So it's not just going to be, hey, join my program, get your first automation customer. It's like, hey, do you want to work with us? Are you an enterprise company that wants to, you know, grow your margins or whatever? Do you want to do X, Y, and Z? Look what we did for this multi-million dollar company. Look what we did this for this billion-dollar company. I provided consulting to these guys and these guys. So I guess just getting back to fundamentals, which is going to be cool. And yeah, I think this is going to be one of those stages where like I probably will contract a little bit before I grow out again. But I think it's worth it. Yeah. So just wanted to fill you guys in on that. That's the biggest takeaway that I've gotten from this. And I had a real good time this last week. So I'm just going to go probably get a little bit of sleep because I only slept like 5 hours last night. I was just so excited about all this and I had to like tell somebody. Okay, thank you very much for watching. If you guys have any thoughts on this, let me know. And if you guys have any questions about what I'm talking about or, I don't know, just the AI automation space in general, let me know. It'd be really cool to hear more about it. Okay, I'll leave it there. Cheers, guys. Bye.